Hello everybody, welcome back to Around the Campfire podcast, the ultimate summer camp podcast with AmeriCamp. I'm Harry, hosting today's podcast, and I have a very special guest today who I will let introduce himself, but it's a really exciting podcast for everyone who is travel lovers, and we get to talk about post-camp adventures, which is one of the most exciting but stressful parts of AmeriCamp. So, Dom, if you can introduce yourself.
Yes, hello mate, yeah, thanks for having me on. Really cool, love the podcast name, Around the Fire Camp.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, really enjoy it.
Staple.
Yeah. I should have brought some marshmallows, shouldn't I?
Oh my God, if only.
Yeah.
Next time.
I'm wearing the gilet because it's a bit cold in Manchester, isn't it?
It's a bit cold in here as well. I know it's not good in summer camp, is it?
Yeah, but no, really cool. Thanks for inviting us on, and obviously looking forward to the weekend. And
yes.
Just to introduce myself, I'm Dom. I'm the business development manager for UK and Europe at Contiki. Contiki, we're a world global tour operator. We've got trips all across the world, which again I'm sure we'll get into. So my role as business development manager is to connect with all of our partners. So that could be travel agents, influencers, it could be retail, so like gyms, could be running clubs, anywhere really where we see that sort of Contiki overlay in terms of demographic, and anywhere that's our vibe really. My role is to create that partnership. The overall aim from my role is to grow bookings in the UK and Europe, but also just to grow the brand awareness in the UK and Europe as well. So yeah, very lucky. It's it's a cool job, and get to do some cool things, and keeps you busy.
Love that. Yeah. Well, we're so happy to have you on and talk about everything that we're doing with Contiki now, which is so exciting. I do want to touch on your role specifically and kind of how you got into it, just because our applicants who watch our podcasts and they listen to them, they love travel in general, and a lot of people who listen to our podcasts actually want to get into the realm of travel when it comes to careers. So how have you kind of molded it into kind of this BDM role? Yeah,
for sure. Interesting one really. I think super organic is what I would say. It wasn't anything that I maybe aspired to. When I was at university, I did a few summer camp experiences. So I guess similar to AmeriCamp, there's something in the UK called PGL.
Yes,
if you know PGL, yeah.
Loads of our applicants do PGL.
Oh, cool, nice. So I did that one year, and then for the following 2 summers, I actually went to the US, but I played football, and I used to referee football.
Oh, wow.
So I went out to it's called USA Cup, so it's the world's biggest youth tournament, and it's like hundreds of teams go there, and really cool experience. That was in Minnesota, so I did that for 2 summers on the bounce, and I think from my side really enjoyed putting myself outside of my comfort zone like at an early age, and saw like the benefit that came from that, which I think was really cool. Started off there. Then went back to uni for my final year, and then I think it was quite random really. It wasn't really too thought out. I went on a couple of group trips straight after university. So went to Thailand and Bali, and you just loved it. Like just absolutely fell in love with touring and tours and like travel in general. Like just had such a great time and such a good experience. Like it was just loved the meeting new people, going to communities. The fact that you can hop around from beach to beach and rock up in these different places, it was so cool.
That's the life.
And I just fell in love with it. And then I came back home, originally from Sussex. So I was working a relatively standard local job in Sussex, but I did luckily enough to get some sort of travel in there as well. And then about a year went on, so I must have been early 20s, and job popped up as business development manager for the company that I travelled with in Asia, and I was like, oh my God, I was like, dream job.
Ideal.
Have to go for it. So I applied for it, and I think to be honest, looking back now, I probably was a little bit underqualified. But I think they probably from both sides really, and I think they thought he's got that young energy about him. He's a customer. He was just a customer.
And he's the passion.
So you got that passion and really, it was that, and it was organic, and started there and had a great time, getting into the world of sort of group tours and youth trips, and absolutely loved it. So now at Contiki, so been at Contiki for 2.5 years.
Nice.
So been working in sort of youth group travel for 7-8 years now. Getting a bit older, getting on a bit, some grey hairs. And yeah, love it. Very lucky. You know, I think what I get to do on a daily basis, going around, creating partnerships, obviously get to travel, which is really cool. It's really cool, and I remind myself on a daily basis that I'm very lucky, and you know, I've got a role and a job that I'm, you know, passionate about and I care about, which I think is, you know, is really cool. So I'd say from my perspective, it was just putting myself outside of my comfort zone and you know, trying a few different things. My degree was more in like business and like sports business. I thought I'd work in sports, and travel sort of found me. I'd say I didn't find it; it found me. I would often say so. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Well, good. Like 7-8 year stunt then, is it?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's been good fun. Yeah, I got to travel a lot and see the world, and some of the stuff we get to do is really cool. You know, every week's different. Yeah. You know, every day is slightly different. You know, whether it's, you know, rocking up at a university campus, or you know, meeting with a CEO from a partnership, or speaking to an influencer about a new trip that we're launching. You know, there's so much variety, which is really cool. So
and that's travel in general. I think it's such a good ever-changing career, I like to call it, because you know, every day is not different, and like things change and trends go up and down. I think it's just such a fab career to kind of go into.
100%. Yeah, I think it's, you know, people that in travel are always, you know, slightly wacky and like, but good fun.
We have a select personality, we do.
I went to a travel event last week actually, and the people there were just, you know, so friendly. Everyone's like coming up to you and having a chat, and you know, that whole energy around it, so cool. So yeah, I think most people that work in travel, you know, have that passion for it. And I'm sure there's people watching this and listening who are thinking, oh, I'd love to, you know, work in travel. I think it's just
100%.
There's jobs out there, and it's just, you know, putting yourself out there and taking a risk and giving things a go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So fun job, fun company. Contiki, how would we kind of explain to our applicants a bit more about kind of just the company in general?
Yeah, for sure. So Contiki, I'd say that we're, you know, the original tour operator, really. You know, we've been going for over 60 years. I'll touch on the history in a minute, but we've been going for over 60 years. So we like to say it's the ultimate experience for group travel, essentially. You know, that's what we look to provide. We've got over 200 trips all across the globe, and essentially, you know, they're sort of like expertly devised and planned to, you know, create the best experience in 2 weeks. You know, we're looking to create the highlights. I think that's one thing about a Contiki trip. You know, it's not, you know, we're not just focusing on partying, we're not just focusing on nature, we're not just focusing on history. You know, there's a lot of different elements. You know, one trip might be you wake up in the morning and you're doing a sunrise hike in Bali, which you may have just done.
I have done, yes.
Really cool, yeah.
Mount Batur.
Mount Batur, really cool. So, you know, whether it's that, or whether it's, you know, like a foodie experience in Morocco, or whether it's, you know, surfing in Australia, like, you know, there's elements of it that's sort of built in, so it's not just one thing. It's, you know, it's history, it's culture, it's a little bit of partying, it's adventure, it's nature, it's sightseeing, it's landmarks. So really, like, you know, we're trying to create the perfect experience in 2 weeks. You know, I often use this analogy. It's like baking a cake, or maybe like a scientist, like our product team, almost like scientists in the sense that, you know, they're trying to pull things in and sort of chop and change things slightly, just to create the perfect, you know, group travel experience for 18 to 35s. And, you know, when you're baking a cake, you know, you have a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I think that's really what our team do. Team do really well. And we've got trips all across the globe. I think we've got 220 trips, so there's quite a few for me to remember.
With a lot in the US as well, which is what we like to hear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so US is a big one for us. We've got trips in the US, in Canada. Asia is obviously very popular for us as well. In Europe, Africa. So yeah, it's really cool, very global, and we've got a big global team. We've got offices in London and in Sydney and Canada as well. So it's really cool, very big global team, and I think, you know, people love Contiki, and we can touch on the history if you like.
Of course, So
it was founded, you know, 62 years ago, I think, 63 years ago, and you know, I watched some old videos, and you know, by being in the company, you hear about people that have been involved throughout the years, and you know, you pick up on, you know, how things have chopped and changed. So essentially, it was founded by a guy called John Anderson, who was a Kiwi who came over to London, and essentially, you know, just wanted to show Australians and Kiwis Europe, in 2 weeks. So he hired a minibus and would just drive around Europe, and they'd be going to Amsterdam and Paris and Berlin and all across Europe. And we still have those trips today. They're called our multi-country Europe trips.
Oh, wow.
So if anyone watching this has got an Australian mate,
Yes.
mention Contiki to them, and it's like a household name.
It is, yeah. I have a lot of Australian friends, and they all know Contiki.
Yeah. So they all know Contiki. So it's, that's like the heart of the company, and sort of what we started at. And I think as we've grown throughout the years, initially it was just mainly Australians and Kiwis. As we've grown to different markets, and now the UK and Europe, for example, the Brits aren't looking to visit Amsterdam and Berlin as much. It's a bit more afield, USA, Canada, a little bit further afield. But what's really cool is the foundation, the core of Contiki is still the same. So the aim when it was first founded was to essentially just show 18 to 35-year-olds the world. And make some best mates whilst you're doing it. And essentially that's still what we're doing today. Things have chopped and changed. There's trends, there's things that are popular for 5 years and then they drop off, but the core of what we do is still the same, which is really cool.
Fantastic. So yes, Contiki for people watching or listening, like Dom says, has so many tours just around the world, and especially the US, which is why we love talking about it on this podcast, because we know that post-camp travel, it's a really big thing for people going to camp, because you've been working for 7-8 weeks non-stop at this summer camp, and you get to the point where now you've finished and you can travel around the US for 30 days, which is amazing. And we think doing a group tour that's expertly crafted, like you said, is perfect for that post-camp period, because they just don't have to think. And at summer camp you are constantly thinking and you can't turn your mind off. And I think that when then 30 days come and you can just turn off, when you're traveling you're still quite stressed because you're having to book flights and hotels and all that, which is why Contiki is fantastic, because you just don't even have to think when you're on the trip because everything's just done. Yeah,
for sure. No, 100%. I think we were chatting before we started about the benefits of group travel. Exactly, and you've just done your first experience, which is really cool to hear how you found it. And sounded like you loved it. And there's people come to me a lot and say, what's the benefits of Contiki? From our marketing side of things, we're obviously always shouting about, joining a Contiki trip, joining a group tour rather than doing it solo, doing it on your own. So, there's a lot of benefits that we like to shout about. Yeah, so initially, it's the practical side. The practical side is a massive benefit. So, having to think about where you're going, like going from A to B, where am I going to eat tonight?
Yeah, you don't have to think.
Which hotel am I going to book? Yeah, so you can really relax. I think that's a massive thing for us. We talk about stress-free travel quite a lot.
Yeah.
Which is super important, and
especially for our applicants.
Yeah, exactly. After you've just been
stress after camp, which is what we love.
Yeah, so you can fully switch off, which is really cool. And I think that's really important. I was actually looking at one of our reviews a few weeks ago, actually, and one of them jumped out to me. And it was a girl that had just been to Costa Rica, and she was talking about the stress-free element, and it's cool to see it because it's a marketing thing for us, but to see someone mention it, and she'd said that that stress-free element enabled her to be like really present in the experience, which is really cool because you're not figuring out
that is very true,
where you're going from A to B. You can just relax and switch off in a different sense, and I think that's really important. In this day and age, we all know how hard it is to be present, like with socials and just how the world is. It can be hard to switch off. So travel, is great for being able to fully be present, make some best friends, and just really enjoy it. So that's the practical side of things, which is that's how we sell it to the parents, and that's that's
you can vouch for it.
And it's it's safe. You have a trip manager, you typically have a driver on the coach, whether it's a coach trip. The itinerary is already mapped out, so you can have a look and see what you like doing. So from a practical perspective, yes, but I think what we talk a lot about Contiki is, we often call Contiki a community rather than like a tour operator. So we are a community, and there's this other element in terms of a benefit to group travel that is almost hard to explain, which isn't great for a podcast. But it's almost like this magic that's in the air that when you join a Contiki trip, you start on day one and there's 20-30 strangers that you've never met before. and you're thinking, oh my god, this is a bit awkward. Like you're
It
sort
is,
of,
and it is.
yeah, it can be a bit awkward.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, after 3 days, you're best mates with these people, and
Yeah.
you're like, how on earth did I not know these
Yeah,
people 3
it's
days ago?
fantastic,
Which is
isn't it?
insane. And I think, there's a reason for that. We typically find that, someone that does a group trip or a Contiki trip has probably got the same vibe as you.
Yes.
They're looking to put themselves out there. They're looking to get outside of their comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone needs to be an introvert or an extrovert. It's just people that are looking to, connect and see the world. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, that energy that creates around, having best mates that you've met on a trip, I think is just really cool. Like, we often say that like the Contiki magic, if you could bottle that up and sell it, it would probably be worth a lot of money.
Of course, yeah.
And just that energy that's created from that, and people then, as I said, they're strangers initially.
Yeah.
70%, around 65 to 70% of our travellers travel solo. So like huge amount travel solo and go on their own. So, I think from that perspective, they join solo, and then you join a group of 20, 30 people who you've never met. You become best mates. And, I've seen the trips that I've done where, I'm still in WhatsApp chats. We're arranging a meetup for next year for the last group trip that I did. Like people generally do become like best mates.
Yeah.
And the WhatsApp chats live on forever, and it's
good
really
memories.
Cool. Yeah.
And it's, for people watching who haven't actually done camp yet, it's good to kind of echo what you've said about the community aspect, because that's what we say we are in AmeriCamp as well.
Yeah.
And it's exactly the same way that you will go to camp, like you will a Contiki trip, not know a single soul.
Yeah.
You're in a camp in rural Pennsylvania with 349 other people from all around the world, and after a week of orientation and training, you are so dependent on these people, and you can't imagine summer without them. And I think that's so good that Contiki kind of has that same ethos, because it's just a perfect transition to go from camp life into Contiki life and just continue the
experience.
vibe.
Yeah, 100%. I guess you've just done your group trip, and you were obviously started off at camps, I guess, and you've probably seen both of it. And
Very
you can
similar vibes.
See the similarities, which is really cool. But yeah, 100%. I think the reason, obviously, we're really excited to launch the partnership, and one of the great things is it's very organic. Travellers that do AmeriCamp and do Contiki are probably doing them already, and the demographics are very much the same.
Yeah.
But 100%, I think it's the same energy. It's people that are looking to put themselves out of their comfort zone, do something new, see the world, engage with new communities, learn and have fun along the way. Really,
Exactly.
I think that's really important. So yeah, there's a lot of similarities, I think, between that Contiki experience and then the AmeriCamp experience as well. Yeah.
And I know that our like AmeriCamp vibe from applicants is our applicants like to give back, and that's why they do camp, because they want to do the childcare, and they have a real passion about caring for others, and it is everyone has the same beliefs, I would say. And I know Contiki does the Make Travel Matter experience.
Yes.
If you can go into that, because I think our applicants would love to know, because Contiki, it is tour operator and they do tours, but that is special, I think, about you guys, and I think our applicants would love that as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so no, it's really cool. We have something called Make Travel Matter experiences, which essentially is our pledge to giving back and traveling in, I guess, the right way. So the 3 pillars that we have is people, planet and wildlife, and one of the experiences will give back to one of those elements, which is really important. I think, as I mentioned earlier on, Contiki is a 360 experience. It's not just history, it's not just culture, it's not just landmarks. We're trying to create that 360 experience, and one of those key points is responsible travel, doing things in the right way, giving back, community projects, that type of thing. So yeah, the Make Travel Matter experience is really like really wrap this up essentially. So it's super important. Sometimes it can be a big activity on the trip. So for example, it can be, a beach clean in Bali, for example, but then sometimes we'll just weave it into the itinerary. So for example, I did one in Austria, which was really cool, which was a restaurant. So we're going out for food anyway. So if we can create an experience which gives back. So we went to a really cool restaurant that hires hires workers from a migrant background and a refugee background, and they train them to become entrepreneurs. So we're going out for food anyway. So if we can do it from that spin, I think that's really cool.
Great.
And then there's loads all across the globe. I think we've got them on 50% of our itineraries, which is really cool. We're looking to continue to grow them. So for example, in the US, we've got one on our Nashville trip, which is our I think it's the Grizzly Bears and the Wolves Discovery Center in the Yellowstone National Park, which is really cool. So what they do there is they will rehome and care for wolves and bears that have been injured. And it's a good project, and it's something that's doing good. And essentially, by doing a Contiki, you're supporting that. We're supporting, all these different projects all across the globe.
Imagine going there.
Yeah, really cool.
See bears and wolves.
I know.
That is crazy. That is such a fun experience, especially for people who are doing camp who have literally just turned 18 or 19, and they've finished camp, and then they'll go and do this trip, and then they get to see wolves and bears. It's nuts.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah, no, it's slightly different, and it's giving back, and it's getting involved in the community and the project and seeing what they're doing, and we like to shout about that. I think as a travel company the size of Contiki, I think it's very important that we take that responsibility and do things the right way, and try and travel responsibly and make sure that our travellers can travel responsibly if that's what they're looking to do. So that's really important to us, and you'll see those dotted around the itinerary. So if you do visit the Contiki website, you'll see on the itinerary there's a little icon which has Make Travel Matter experiences, so you'll be able to see which ones those are, and they're really cool.
Love that. Make travel matter, everyone. Exactly. So, with AmeriCamp and Contiki kind of being on the similar vibe like we spoke about, I think one of the questions that we had in store for this podcast was why we think this would benefit an AmeriCamp applicant. And I feel like it's just pretty self-explanatory. We are very similar vibes, and I think we've touched on the main bulk of it, I think. But is there anything that you can think of where you would say this is literally perfect for someone who's just finished summer camp and they want to kind of go around the US?
Yeah, I think we've spoken about the solo nature of our trips, and the best mates that you can meet and the experiences that you can get from it, which is all really cool. I think practically, of course, your AmeriCampers, they've just finished their experience, and they've probably been somewhere for is it typically sort of 2 to 3 months, is it? 2 to 3 months. So they're there, and probably stationary quite a lot, and they maybe haven't seen much of the US, so they can hop on a Contiki after their AmeriCamp, and actually they've probably got that thirst for travel. They're probably wanting to see the country. So I think that's really cool. And of course, you can do it on a Contiki trip, which is a safe environment. As I mentioned earlier on, an environment where you're probably going to meet like-minded travelers, which is really important. So I think it's that. It's being able to go and see the country afterwards. And I think when we were looking at some of our social bits, it's the cherry on top of the experience. Of course, AmeriCamp is a wonderful experience for young travellers and young people in general, but if you can just pop that Contiki cherry on top of the already great experience, I think that's you'll come back and you'll be thinking, wow, when can I book the next one? I think
yes, because once you get the bug, you get the bug.
You do. I know, it's insane. It's I think it's actually quite addictive, actually.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's probably not a bad addiction in fairness. But yeah, so the last Contiki trip that I did was Jordan. So I did our Jordan Uncovered trip, which was epic. Absolutely loved it. Really cool place. Food was great. The locals were amazing as well. We went to Petra, which is one of the wonders of the world, which was amazing. We went to the Wadi Rum Desert, which was unreal. It looked like something that something out of a movie that I'd never seen before. That was insane. But that trip was real Contiki VIPs, in terms of a lot of them had done multiple experiences. You typically find that some of our trips sort of gear more towards the 27 to 35s. So that trip, for example, there's not much partying, of course. It's more history, more culture, a little bit slower. So you typically find it's a little bit more popular with the 27 to 35s. And there was a few people there on there that had done 5, 6, 7 Contikis. There was one girl called Larissa who is from the States, and I think that was her 20th Contiki trip, which is insane. I don't know how she's managed to get the time or the money. Like
Yeah,
it's
I can
insane.
imagine.
But she absolutely loves it. So, we find that people like just absolutely fall in love with Contiki and just like that way of travel, but also, the Contiki community. People just fall in love with it. And I think that, that's massive.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
That's
so,
fab.
Yeah.
So, yes, why don't we chat a little bit about kind of the US trips that you guys have as well, specifically, because I know that our applicants and people watching it really wanting to know about that. So, yeah, run us through, one of the trips or some of the trips that you guys do in the US.
Yeah, amazing, for sure. Yeah, I mean, US is super popular. What a country. I mean, it's so diverse, isn't it, in terms of the trips, and every state seems to be slightly different. You can get so many different types of travel experiences there, and I guess that's what's so cool about the country. From my own personal experience, I actually need to do a little bit more of the US. I've done a few of the big cities like New York and LA, but I'd love to do a bit more of the national parks.
Yeah.
Really want to do Texas as well. So yeah, it's definitely on my bucket list. I've done a lot of Australia and in Asia over the past few years, but yeah, really keen to do a little bit more US in the future years. But from a Contiki perspective, it's a super popular destination for Brits, and obviously, a big one for the AmeriCamp community as well. We've got 10 trips in the US, so a little bit of everything really. So one of our most popular trips at the minute is our Nashville to Dallas road trip, which people just seem to be absolutely loving.
If you're a camp counsellor, you know that Nashville is like top of the list of everyone's I need to go to.
Have you been?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been, yeah.
Literally after camp.
Oh, cool.
Went, yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, it just seems to be the place. I know it's probably been like that for a few years, but this year and last year in particular, it just seems to be the one that everyone's like drawn towards. I think it's like the country music scene.
It is, yeah.
The like the bars and the nightlife scene, but just the whole place just seems really cool. We actually had two of our influencer partners have just been out on that trip. So nice. I've been, although I've not done that trip, I'm, following it closely. I feel like I've almost been there myself.
Have you been to Nashville or not?
I've not. No, it's on the.
Oh my God, you need to go.
I know, on the bucket list. Yeah, on the bucket list. So yeah, definitely keen to go there. So yeah, that's a super popular trip. So Nashville to Dallas road trip. It's country music. You go to some of the the original like country music spots.
Wow.
You spend some time at Elvis's house in New Orleans.
Crazy, Graceland.
Yeah, Graceland. Yeah,
Nice.
you go on one of the old school airboats as well, which is really cool.
Nice.
There's some foodie experiences in New Orleans as well, which is really popular.
I can imagine. Wow.
So yeah, that trip's really popular. So we've got something like that, but then we've also got our LA to the Bay, which is a bit of a Contiki OG. So starting off in LA and then finishing in San Fran. So
you have to do, if you're going to the US,
Yeah.
you have to go to LA.
Yeah, I know LA gets a bit of a mixed bag, doesn't it?
Not a fan of it.
No,
I feel
okay.
like you have to do it at least. You have to do it once.
You have to, yeah.
I've done it once. I wouldn't do it again. That's how I look at LA.
Yeah.
I'm glad I've done the Hollywood hike, and now I'm like, I don't have to go again.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's it's LA to the Bay. It's a bit of a Contiki OG. I think that trip's been running for over 10 years. Super popular trip, and really popular one. We've also got our I mentioned it earlier on, but our Yellowstone trip, which is really popular. We have our national parks trip, which I believe goes to 5 of the national parks in Utah, which is like amazing. That's the one for me. I'm a little bit older now, so I'm I'm quite happy potting around national parks and
go up a hill and
looking at some wildlife. Yeah,
I must say though, like you said, Nashville is trending. I would now say national parks is getting there. Because I didn't go to camp this year, but loads of all my friends went back, and they all, literally every single counsellor I know at my camp did a road trip after camp that was going to the national parks.
Yeah, for sure. I think I mentioned earlier on about our product team being a bit like scientists, which I'm sure they'll like. But one of the things we have noticed in some of our like feedback, and we're always looking at reviews and trends and stuff, is actually a bit of a move, globally, but mainly the US as well. Move away from people wanting to be in the big cities and actually wanting to be out in national parks, being out in the out in the great outdoors. In the US and Canada, we are seeing that with the national parks in the US, and then the Rocky Mountains in Canada. People are just loving being outside and seeing the beauty, which is really cool. I think that's great. So they're just a few of our trips. We've also got a big USA road trip, which is 23 days. So that one's epic. That's all of the all of the highlights. I think it's wraps up in Vegas, and then you head back to LA right at the end. So it's like everything that you'd expect to see out of a US trip. So
Wow.
yeah, really cool. As I said, we've got 10 trips in the US, so yeah, definitely check them out. I'm sure there's something for you there, and it depends what you're looking for post camp. I mean, I'm sure some will be looking for a bit of a chill, some might be looking for a Vegas party. So
yes, a bit of both. I think you need a bit of both
Yeah.
when traveling after camp. You need to let loose, but you also need to chill. So there'll definitely be a trip that's perfect for someone.
Exactly, yeah. Life's all about balance, isn't it? And I think travel's the same, all about balance, isn't it? So
do you know what? Excluding Contiki tours, where's your favourite place in the US? Would you say?
Oh, in the US, that I've been to or not been to.
Maybe do been to and then not
Yeah, I mean, been to would be New York. Like the food, like
a staple.
Yeah, like the food was amazing. Like just you don't really realise, but the amount of movies that you've seen growing up and TV shows, and you're like just. It almost feels like you're in a movie, and like just like the coffee and the food is like amazing. So that's like where I've been to, but I think I touched on it earlier on. Like for me, like the national parks, like Yellowstone National Park,
Zion, and
it just looks
Yosemite.
Just looks amazing. Yeah, we've got some really cool experiences in the national parks. There's one night that you do. It's almost like a glamping experience in the Zion National Park actually, and that's amazing. So yeah, that's like my street nowadays. So that's
Get
one.
Yourself booked on.
Yeah, I know. I need to. It's a very long list working in travel, which I'm sure you find as well. It's like you're always thinking, I need to go here, I need to go here, and you're surrounded by it every day. So although earlier on I spoke about the amazing perks of working in travel and how fun it is,
it's not good for your bank account.
No, it can be an expensive hobby. Yeah.
Exactly. I know. Well, hopefully people listening can experience some of these amazing trips, like the national parks and going to Nashville and all that. And the reason that we've kind of brought that up as well is because we can actually give our AmeriCamp applicants a discount. Yes. Which is amazing, which will be good if you can kind of just let people know how much they can get off, and like what our little partnership is all about. Yeah,
amazing. Yeah, so I think we probably hinted towards it a few times, but yeah, really excited to launch the partnership between Contiki and AmeriCamp. It's two organic brands that people seem to love, which is really cool. So bringing them two together is very exciting.
It is.
So yeah, we launched the partnership a few weeks ago now, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah. So got a really good reaction on socials from what I saw, which was really cool. So yeah, part of the partnership, the AmeriCamp community can get a 10% discount on Contiki trips globally, but Contiki trips in the US. So all you need to do at checkout is enter AmeriCamp 10.
And I'll put it right here just so everyone can see it as well. If you're listening, I'm sorry, but on YouTube, we're going to have it right here as a sticker.
Amazing, yeah. So just enter that at checkout and that will get you a 10% discount. And, I think we've been speaking about all the perks that you can get from, the AmeriCamp experience and the Contiki experience. So yeah, would highly recommend people check it out so you can use that discount code. And yeah, we're of course going to be at your camp fairs this weekend.
Yes, if people don't know already, this is probably going to be posted after the camp fairs, but we are having camp fairs this weekend, which is the first of the 2026 season, which is so exciting. Dom's attending, which is really exciting. And we're hoping that you can come for more in the future as well.
Yeah, no, amazing. Yeah, if anyone sees me at future events and whatever, come over and say hi, talk about your bucket list and where you're keen to go to. Fire questions at me. I get the most random questions when I do events.
Yes.
It's like, someone will be like, what happens on day 7 of your
testing your knowledge?
Your Morocco trip, and I'm like, what happens then? So people throw random questions to me, but I don't mind it. It's good fun. So yeah, if you see me at the fairs, come up to me, have a chat about travel. We can talk about bucket lists. We can talk about the promotion that we've got going on and the discount code. We're also going to have some travel snacks and some brochures and stuff like that you can take away. So yeah, we're really looking forward to it, and thanks for getting us involved. And
of course,
should be a fun weekend.
It is going to be exciting. Fingers crossed you can come to many more. So people who are watching this after the fairs, hopefully they'll be at a fair that you go to. So we'll see. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
It's been great.
It's been absolutely fantastic. I hope people listening, watching, feel a bit more inspired to kind of get post-camp travels and really just do something amazing with it. We want people to do a cultural exchange program like AmeriCamp, but then also get to experience the country as well. Staying at a summer camp is great. It's one of the best jobs ever, but you do need that downtime after, like I've said countless times, and Contiki is just the perfect fit for that. So yes, check out on Contiki's website as well, at all the different tours that they do in the US, and make sure to use AmeriCamp 10 at checkout to get your 10% off. So thank you so much for coming on.
Wicked, thanks Harry.
See you later everyone, bye.